Yeah, the Southeast Energy Efficiency Alliance is a regional nonprofit focused across 11 Southeast states in the Southeast. We basically cover from Virginia all the way to Florida, Kentucky at our northern tier, Arkansas, Louisiana, and everything else in between. We're founded upon the principle of deploying energy efficiency across the southern states, and that takes a variety of different ways when you look at it. One is we do a lot of state policy work, helping our states, forming policies for our states to adopt, but really providing the conduit for states to take leadership roles. We work with our utilities on efficiency programs, we work with our public service commissions on the regulatory components. We work with the private sector on technology deployment and strategies for getting efficiency technology into the market. We do a lot of research with universities, and we partner with universities across the Southeast. We also have a very active program in industrial efficiency, working with manufacturers. And then finally, we work with governments, that's both state and local governments, and really helping governments figure out what their role is. Obviously, governments have received quite a bit of money from the federal government for stimulus programs. We've been very active in planning programs for what states should do, what cities should do. And then we do education, and our education can take a variety of different components. It's usually business to business, business to government. And we are publicly and privately funded, so we work with corporations through an associate membership structure. We have federal support from agencies, and then we have private foundation support. It's a good question because we get it a lot, and there's lots of ways to answer this question. We could look at different structures and say, if you just look at utilities, who's the best performing state, or if you look at just policies, who's got the best policies. But taking away that and just saying who are shining states out there, who's really embracing efficiency from a variety of different levels. The most rising state as of last year in the region is Tennessee. And Tennessee's really adopted a comprehensive look at the energy efficiency, and that's been through the leadership of Governor Bredesen. He's really been a champion behind this. But beyond that, North Carolina has typically been the most progressive state. They've got the policy structure in place, they've got the utilities side that's really thinking about how they deploy energy efficiency. They have a lot of research and development happening obviously in the state, and they've been very active. But all of our states have something going on, and regardless if it's a program at one state, or it's a utility involvement in another state, or it's simply just an investment into R&D, we've got a lot of things happening, and I foresee that we're going to have more states showing more leadership in the next year or so. Most of our research for the region has been looking at energy efficiency potential, and that's both looking at the technical potential of what can be deployed, what technologies can be deployed, and what are the policies needed. And then secondly, what's the economic impact? What are we going to create if we adopt policies? So let's just take, for example, if we were to create policies around third-party verification of building codes at a commercial and residential level. What do you need to do that? And and what's the planning horizon? What's the cost associated with it? But what's the energy reduction also associated with it? And so we look across scales. We'll look at residential, we'll look at commercial, we'll look at industrial, we'll look at transportation, and come up with a variety of policies and say, if you had this suite of policies, each state could achieve X reductions of energy. And not only that, but you could produce X amount of jobs, and the economic tax impact to your state would be the following. So that research we've been doing for the last couple of years. We just completed a report looking at the entire Southeast, every single state, with Georgia Tech and with Duke University. And that report's now available on our website. It shows exactly how we could reduce energy consumption and demand across the southern states. And in fact, it's pretty bold. It talks about how we could actually curtail the need for new demand through new plants, but actually by embracing very aggressive energy efficiency. So we've got some really cutting edge research out there that has widespread implications. So a couple things, as I just mentioned, perhaps it's a residential energy efficiency retrofit program on the resale of a home. So if you resell your home, you have to retrofit to some standard, Energy Star standard or something beyond. That's a policy we looked at. If you look at the industrial sector, it may be some type of industrial incentive for combined heat and power programs, so that you're actually taking waste heat and producing energy on site. the commercial level, it's an aggressive retro commissioning activity where you actually go and tune up commercial buildings so they perform. So we look at a variety of different policies. There's other things included, appliance standards. Just the way that we have what we can set at the state level for how appliances are sold, and the efficiency needs to be sold. The efficiency component needs to be included in each of those appliances. So we look at a suite of policies, and as I said, it can be a residential scale, it can be a commercial scale, it can be industrial, and underneath that there's a variety of different avenues to look at. So, we have a roadmap, we have a game plan that if we were to seek to achieve it, which I think we will, we've got to work on implementation now, that we can really see energy efficiency grow as a business, our states prosper from an economic development potential, and providing good policy. So part of that answer is that we as an organization see ourselves in a role of market transformation. And so really, how do we transform a market? And so as I mentioned early on about the programs we do, we kind of look at all those components, whether it's policy or it's a programmatic decision at a utility level or it's a technology deployment strategy. I mean, these are the components that we have to drive the economic viability of the efficiency market. Now we've got to help build the efficiency market as well. I don't know that we have the infrastructure, if we look across the country, that others would have seen in terms of how much is being deployed. But I think if we have the right policies in place and the right incentives in place, that infrastructure we can help develop. There's lots of strong policy decisions that can be made at that level. So it could be looking at the supply of electricity and how the efficiency meets in that supply. Or there could be targets, the goals set, that states set for how much efficiency has to be met in the state. And if you look at the California markets, you look at the East Coast markets, and you say, well, why has it been so aggressive? Well, first rates are much higher. So the return on investment of technology implementation is more palatable. But also there's been a lot of regulatory oversight saying we want efficiency in our marketplace. We're going to incentivize emerging cutting edge technology. Efficiency is going to compete in the market. So we've got those components that we have to look at. I actually think good or bad rates are not going to stay consistently low. The cost of energy simply is increasing, as we know. As we buy gas every day. We look at the natural gas prices. We see coal rising. We see nuclear prices rising. The cost of electricity, the compliance side of electricity is certainly increasing. The one thing we do know is energy efficiency is pretty consistent. We know we can change lights. We know we can put insulation in. We know it's relatively inexpensive. So, it is something that we have to embrace, and we know that it's very affordable and it pays back immediately once you've installed it. We're a recipient of $20 million to work with cities across the Southeast in a very aggressive pool of applicants, so we feel very lucky to have gotten that. Our proposal that was funded actually works with 30 cities across the Southeast, including the Virgin Islands, on structured energy efficiency programs. And so we're going to be working with every city on planning of how they will create financial mechanisms, how they create a service sector, how they measure and verify, how they communicate. So we're looking across a variety of platforms of how we really engage cities and develop the infrastructure they need, the partnerships they need on the private side, and make a market work in the southern states. And so it's quite exciting for us. When we put the proposal together in December, or we'll kind of backtracking back into October, November, we had been actively working with cities for the last couple of years. And so we were approached cities across the region, talking about how we do a regional application. And so the cities have been already selected. There perhaps could be the potential we can add more, but we've got a bit of some work ahead of us to revise our proposal and to really work on how now we implement it. Easy question, hard answer. We hope it's early summer that the money will start actually moving into